Hello and welcome back to the Spion Kop. I'm Pete Bolster. I've got Christos Nicolau with me. Liverpool now have recorded their 9th defeat of the season, which is quite staggering for the Premier League champions. It's the 5th last-minute winner we've conceded, which is a Premier League record, which in itself is absolutely abysmal. To make things worse is that we've conceded 2 late goals against Leeds United and against Fulham, which obviously could have made it, well, has made it worse. And what makes it worse as well, if you remember Sunderland, they come to Anfield, they almost got that last-minute winner in the beginning of December. That would have made it worse. But what definitely has made it worse is Liverpool are now outside the top 5. My agenda got ripped up when I was thinking about this show, when that happened, because I think you get to a point where you're watching Liverpool and you're watching them and you're thinking, this is boring. This is really, really boring, and it's been a miserable season. But if you get the result, that's fine. But if you don't get the result, then question marks need to be asked. And my question of this show is, what does Arne Slot need to do to save his job? Is it to win the Champions League? Is it just to win the FA Cup? Is it Champions League qualification? Is it a combination of 2? You certainly can't do 3. I'm pretty sure about that. Or are we just being too harsh? So I'll start it off with that, Christos. Well, I just want to know your thoughts initially on watching the game. I was right up for it. I was looking forward to it. I know you said in the group that you actually wasn't looking forward to the game, but I was. I was thinking I couldn't wait to get home, and I've kidded myself a little bit thinking that we were going to get a performance. I even boldly predicted that Liverpool would win 3-0. To then concede the way we did, and then for Mo Salah to score the way he did, it only looked like you were thinking, come on, let's go and get the winner now. To then concede again in the last minute is just simply unacceptable.
Yeah, Peter, I think Liverpool started the game a lot better than people think. So in the first 10, 15 minutes, we had 2 or 3 decent chances. Salah got in behind, got a bit of a push, could have had a better touch, and then if that's not offsides, we scored a goal. But after that, we sort of retreated a little bit. We conceded a bit of possession. Wolves were starting to get more comfortable. And minute by minute, our passing was getting slower. It was getting more predictable. Everything we were doing was just not good enough. The quality wasn't there. Creativity wasn't there. And as the game was progressing in the first half, I started panicking because they were showing me signs of other games in the last games of the season that we've played where there's just no answers for Liverpool.
Well, I wasn't panicking. And the reason being is that this has been very much how Liverpool played over the last few months. So I've got used to the pattern of play. People are challenging me saying that there is no pattern of play. I think, well, that is, and that's sort of the plan. If you go back all the way to one of our first results of the last 22 games, I think it is West Ham away, and we go there and we win 2-0 and Isaac scores. The way Liverpool played that day was very boring, but it nullified the opposition, and I think we've got to give credit where it's due. Liverpool do nullify the opposition for large parts of the games and large parts of this run. But it's like, let's keep them at bay, and it's like, let's not lose, and we'll try and win the game at some point if we can. That's just simply not Liverpool's identity.
It's too defeatist, Peter. And I think a lot of the times what actually happens is that we concede a goal and we haven't got the ability to come back in games. So since we got beat by PSV in the Champions League, we went on a decent run in the last 22 games. There's 3 losses in there, all in extra times. That's Wolves away, City at home, Bournemouth away. And in between that, there's also 6 draws. So that's 9 games. So nearly half of the 22 games, we're dropping points. Earlier in the season, before that, we conceded last-minute goals to Palace away and Chelsea away. So I think if you compare that to the previous Jurgen Klopp teams, we were always praised as being mentality monsters, always having the answer, always having the solution. What I'm seeing now is mentality midgets, Peter.
It's frightening. Arne Slot said it's a real concern about the late goals. He also noted that they all come from different situations, set pieces, long range. He come out boldly in the post-match interview and he said that he said he was very predictable, actually, because every Liverpool fan knows what he said, because he says it every time this happens, that we controlled the game. The opposition didn't do anything until he scored. And then he quite, he was fighting back a little bit with the second goal and said that wasn't even a chance. It doesn't matter if it's not a chance. It doesn't matter that Liverpool are defending big chances okay, or they're not conceding big chances, whatever it is that he's saying. When Liverpool keep conceding goals late on, 36% of the goals conceded this season have come after the 76th minute. I think that's a real concern. I think the way we are defeatist in our mentality, the way you've just put it, in the sense that, well, actually, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to repeat again. It doesn't matter how they're coming. We're just conceding, and it's so obvious it's going to happen. I mentioned earlier about Sunderland at home. Sunderland at home. I know they've done well this season, but the fact that we come away with a draw at Anfield that night, that was a result. That was a result for us. Leeds at home on New Year's Day was one of the most miserable games I've ever watched. Some of these games, you said about the six draws, they're all coming against lower teams. Arsenal away was in there. That was a good result. I get it. That's fine. But a lot of these sides were not beaten. As far as I'm aware, we haven't beaten a bottom three team this season, apart from Burnley at the beginning. I think we won 1-0, the Mo Salah penalty. I'm not sure we beat anyone else. That's a real concern.
Yeah, so in previous seasons, it'd probably be quite the opposite, wouldn't it? You'd almost struggle sometimes with the bigger sort of top six clubs. And you'd always have your bankers, your Burnleys, your Wolves. You'd always think before the ball's even kicked, that's 3 points or 6 points in both games. I think now Liverpool are so unpredictable. We don't know what Liverpool's going to turn up. We don't know if they're going to play the football that we want, that they can. We don't know if we're going to concede in the first half, in the second half. A lot of them are coming at the late stages of the game. We don't know if players are going to show up. We've got our wingers struggling. We've got our right backs interchanging every week. So it's a very unstable team. And I think the manager's under loads of pressure. And I think what you're referring to there, I think he's starting to lose the dressing room. And I think he's starting to feel very uncomfortable in press conferences because it's excuses. They're starting to be a bit boring. They're starting to be very repetitive. They're starting to annoy Liverpool fans because that's not what we want to hear. We want to believe in the team. And I think the way they're playing, they're not giving us the belief. They're not giving us the Liverpool way, Peter.
Part of the excitement of a new season in August, in that first few months, is the belief that you can do something. So it doesn't matter if you're a Liverpool fan, you're an Everton fan, you're a Burnley fan. You can tell yourself a story. You can sell the story to yourself that maybe you might go on an FA Cup run, you might qualify for Europe this season. Whatever it may be, you can tell that story. You just said about having belief. Forget about a belief for a moment. I don't want to watch it. I think that is the most damning thing. And Arne Slot gets really upset when any Liverpool fan or any media question the style of play. He got upset when he spoke about on the round table that he addressed it, that he wants to be remembered of playing good football. I get all that. That's fine. I understand that maybe this wasn't his plan. But what was his plan? Because Liverpool have gone into the season signing Alexander Isak. They've signed Hugo Ekitike. We don't really know for certain what's going to happen and what the plan behind that was. But what we do know is, and this is where Cody Gakpo and Mohamed Salah get a lot of flack, they get a lot of stick. Last season, they did not run in behind the back four of the opposition. That did not happen. Mo Salah occasionally did because he still has pace, and he still has occasionally done this season. What Mo Salah did is he picked the ball up on the right-hand side, and there was a bit of space created with a triangle with Trent and Szoboszlai. And Szoboszlai was running around the outside, and it was then Mo picking out the runners. Arne Slot started the season with two wingers. And it's very apparent that Liverpool need wingers. It's very apparent that Arne Slot needs wingers. It's very apparent that at Feyenoord, he utilised wingers and there's no pace there. I get all that. But he was in those meetings at the beginning of the season when the season was kicking off, and he's decided to go with this squad. So there are some people defending and saying, well, actually, this is a Richard Hughes problem and they haven't replaced Luis Diaz. But Arne Slot was in those meetings. If you are not happy with the squad, you tell the people who are in charge that you're not happy with the squad.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of areas of concern there, Peter. I think, as you said, wingers is a massive concern. And then we don't know if it's an Arne Slot decision, if it's the board's decision. Either way, it's affecting the football team. Now, my personal opinion is, I've been saying it for 2 seasons now, even when Salah was at his best, I think we have to bring in a Salah understudy to push Salah, to have an option. We can't be relying on Salah to play 50, 60 games a season. It's just, he's not a superhuman anymore. He's still a brilliant player. He's still world class for me. But I think we should have done that before the problems occurred. And the same for Gakpo. Gakpo wasn't starting every game. We had Diaz there, we had Nunes on the left sometimes. And I think we just haven't got the numbers in attack, and we haven't got goals from different sort of players coming in. We're struggling to create chances, and I think we didn't strengthen the attack. We got 2 strikers, fine. I'm fine with that. Ekatika's obviously been brilliant. Isak's been unlucky with the injury. But I also thought that we should have strengthened our midfield. I thought we should have got an out-and-out number 6. I know Gravenberch can do a job there, but I just don't think he's naturally a number 6. I think he can do a lot more in the game. And I think centre-back is another position we could have strengthened, and we did. Leone was a kid.
Well, we didn't, because we didn't sign Mark Gahey, so they didn't put that deal through. So they didn't put that deal through in August, and he was having his medical at Liverpool. Then they didn't complete the job in January, so they left the manager short, and that's fine. I really get that. So we can be unlucky, and FSG and the whole team around transfers have done this previously in previous seasons when we had the centre-back crisis. But if you're an attacking manager and you're so upset about people talking about the style of play, and I really, really believe him when he's saying it, I really do. But you were in those meetings. So I have to emphasise that. So you had a plan for Cody Gakpo. Remember, Cody Gakpo signed a new deal at the beginning of the season. Mohamed Salah signed a new deal in the summer. You sign these players to play now. So it's not just about the numbers. The numbers, you are absolutely right. We've got less forwards than we have last season. That is unquestionable. The profile of the forwards. So the profile of the forwards are not what we need in every single game. So Cody Gakpo was brilliant last season because he was interchanging with Luis Diaz, and then Diaz would go centrally at times. Maybe Gakpo would go centrally. It was, you didn't know what you were going to get. And you also had Andy Robertson, who was flying up at times. Kirkes, again, I'm going to talk about profile. I don't know if he's a different type of fullback. I don't know what fullback he is, because when I seen him come into the Liverpool team, I was excited to see him get forwards, pace, and we've seen all this crossing ability at Bournemouth. I don't really see that here. Profile again, Frimpong, he's not the same as Trent. I know no one's the same as Trent, but what was the bloody plan when you're thinking about this? Because Trent was playing Mo Salah in. Conor Bradley is not he doesn't pass out the back. There he is. I think Ibrahim Konate suffered earlier in the season because we couldn't play out to the back. I think the profile of these footballers, they are all good footballers. I know they are. I watch them every week. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm saying the profile's wrong. So it inhibits how we want to play, or it inhibits how Arne Slot wants to play. That is the real problem for me.
Yeah, you're right. So you're talking about different profile. We had, as you said, Diaz, Nunes, Jota. So there was all different types of solutions, and then we'd always could count on the midfield or right back and left back to penetrate other teams as well. But as you said, what I've said before is with Leone, I think, and Ngamoa, I think they've sort of tried to trick the Liverpool fans that, we've got Ngamoa for a winger and we've got this 19-year-old kid, Leone, as a centre-back, so it's fine. I wasn't buying it at all, even though I do believe in Ngamoa, and I think he's a brilliant player. I think there's been too much pressure on him to deliver. At the same time, I think he's not being given the minutes. So we're just throwing him on with 10 minutes to go and we're going, go on, do it. That's not the Liverpool way. That shouldn't be the Liverpool way. I think he should be able to excel on a Liverpool team. And I think they've messed up the transfer window. I think they've made the wrong decisions. I'm not particularly concerned about the players that we did buy. I'm more concerned about the quantity of players that we've bought and a bit of the profile. So I'm all right with buying Isak and Ekitike, but then could we have got something different to challenge Gakpo? Could we got something different to challenge Salah? Maybe that's a money problem. I don't think it was. I think the money was there. And I think they had an opportunity in January and they failed again in January to bolster the squad. Now, we can blame the board, we can blame Arne Slot, but I think at the end of the day, it's affecting the team and it could be detrimental to our season, Peter.
It certainly might be. We'll speak about whether Liverpool can qualify for the Champions League in a moment, but I just want to stick on what was the plan. And that, to me, is where any defence of the manager or anyone who was in those meetings signing the players, and again, you touched on it before, and I know people will come back at me and say, well, maybe it wasn't the manager's decision. I don't think any strong manager would accept that you're taking half the team, you're pulling the team apart, you're the Premier League champions, and this is transition. We wasn't talking about transition. If we remember, at the beginning of the season, Liverpool kept scoring last-minute winners, and inside the AXA Training Centre, they had photographs of all the great moments each game. I don't know what they've done with them because they won't be up now. So Liverpool were definitely thinking that they were going out to go and win the Premier League or go and win the Champions League and certainly have a good season. I don't believe it. What I'm also don't like is how many times he says he's surprised by the opposition. There was a quote a few weeks ago now that he said that he has almost had to rip up every pre-match plan because of the opposition, the way they've set up. I think that's absolutely madness to say, and even if it's true, I don't know why you would come out and say it. Henry Jackson from This Is Anfield has put on Twitter today, he's put a poll asking Liverpool fans, would you keep Arne Slot if Liverpool win the FA Cup and finish 5th? 86% at the time of recording have said no. Okay, it's Twitter. You might get loads of nutters on there. Maybe I'm a nutter and I'm on there. But it is an interesting insight to what's going on with the trust or the lack of trust from Liverpool fans right now.
Yeah, I think I'll go back to what I said before, Peter. I think he's losing the changing room, even though it might not be apparent. And I think he's losing the fans' belief. His chants are not being sung as much anymore. I think his decisions are getting more under the spotlight because it's more influential now. One loss is bringing us down 1 or 2 places each time. Games are running out. And I think he's on a tight string, Peter. I think 86% is a damning stat. Personally, I'd probably wouldn't want him to continue if he just won the FA Cup. Because even though if he did get the Champions League, it's been a very, very flat season. It's not been exciting. It's not been what we expected. And I think he's not convinced us because it's almost like an interview this season for me. It's almost him proving himself in a transitional season, like he says, to the Liverpool fans and to the board that he is the man to take us forward. Otherwise, why have they not give him a new contract?
Well, that's what I was going to move on to. Actually, Christos, is about the new contract. There was loads of talk around November time that Arne Slot would be getting a new contract. That's gone away. It's now March, and we'll go into the latter couple of months of the season. He only has 1 year left on his deal come the summer. I don't know what universe where a massive club like Liverpool, never mind actually, just generally football clubs don't have the manager with a year left on the deal. We've seen the problems with Glasner at Crystal Palace this season. But that's really unheard of. You might have a footballer going into the last season, and even we don't want to. We've seen the problems last season with the three, Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. We've seen the problems this season with Ibrahim Konate. To have your manager not having a long contract going into the next season, the contract running out. I mean, how do you sign footballers, first of all? Because they're like, well, are you going to be here, mate? Like, what's going on here? Like, when you're signing for a football club and your manager's got like 11 months left on his deal, that's a bit mad. But you also said before about us not signing players in January. Why was that? Was that because they don't completely trust the manager? And where's the contract talk gone? Because if you are Liverpool Football Club now, even if you are his most ardent supporter, how would you pull the trigger on a contract when the team keep having negative results like this and the Champions League qualification is certainly not guaranteed?
Yeah, I remember when we failed to sign Gehi in the summer, and I thought, ooh, that's not good, because I thought nothing's guaranteed. Gehi's obviously a brilliant player, and there's always going to be options. And as January was coming forward, a lot of people were saying, oh, he's guaranteed, he's signing for Liverpool, it's a done deal. And I'm like, have you seen our performances lately? Have you seen the press conferences the manager's coming out with? Have you seen what's going on with the football team? We were out of the League Cup. We were losing in the Champions League from teams that we have no right to be losing. The league form was just not good enough. And I think that's going to immediately turn players' heads left and right to see what else have I got as an option. So I think transfer-wise, I think one of the reasons we failed in January to bolster our squad with the top players that we wanted is possibly because they've had better options out there.
I don't want the Liverpool managers to fail. There's no doubt about that. So you can leave your opinion in your comments. If you think I'm being too harsh, then tell me. If you agree with me, then tell me. But he is the bookies' favourite to be the next manager to be sacked, and he has been for such a time now. He's also odds on not to be the Liverpool manager at the start of next season. I touched upon his contract situation before. His family also don't live in England, which to me is a bit of a problem. That's why they're always having these little breaks. I can see a world where he shakes hands with the Liverpool board and it's a bit of a mutual thing where sometimes you see a mutual split and you're like, well, he's just been sacked. I think this might be a bit like, well, his head looks a bit burnt out here. But with, it's just the family situation which I'm really struggling with, because to be away from your family, Christos, is a massive deal. Do you think any of that will play into that?
I think that's a massive red flag, Peter. I think that's a bit of a belief problem from Arne Slot, maybe a confidence problem. It's, for me, with the way I'm reading it, it's like you've got a new job in Manchester and you've not moved the family over because you want to see if you enjoy the job, if the commute is not too bad, if you like the co-workers, if you're getting on with your boss. And then eventually, after a couple of years, you're like, you know what, it's all right, this. And then you sort of commit to the company. I think he's not committed to Liverpool completely. Otherwise, what's his family doing abroad?
It's a brilliant point that you make there, but the way I see it is that Liverpool is the destination, and we can't help but see that this football club is the be-all and end-all. There is no one bigger than Liverpool Football Club. That's what we believe. Maybe we've read it wrong. Maybe Arne Slot has dealt with it differently. He's thinking, I'm signing a 3-year deal because 3 years in the Premier League might be good, and if he's won the Premier League, if he leaves Liverpool at the end of the season with an FA Cup and Champions League qualification after what's happened last summer and the big upheaval with the transitional season, his CV will be right up there and he'll be able to walk into almost any job in the top 5 leagues.
Yeah, definitely. But I think at the same time, he's not convinced the Liverpool faithful. I think they're the ones he needs to convince. And I think he's just not doing it for me, Peter. I don't think we can go forward with him unless he pulls something massive out the bag. Unless he wins the Champions League, for me, I think we're going to really struggle to see him on the touchline next season.
What about, to give him the benefit of the doubt for a moment, if he was to have some brilliant wingers? He did say in the post-match interview that the wide men, they need to beat the man. And they need to rely on them. And that's why I've reacted the way I have, because it's like, well, what was the plan? Because Cody Gakpo wasn't always going to go on the outside. He wasn't going to run in behind Mohamed Salah with his aging legs, and the fact that he wasn't really doing that last season as anywhere near as much as people think. That people remember the 2018 season, not the 2025 season. So what was the plan with that? But if you give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's been a little bit unlucky, do you think the style of play would be massively different next season if he had two fantastic players in those wide areas? Because last season when I was watching Liverpool, I wasn't really impressed either. Of course, I was impressed with winning the league. I was impressed with his winning football games. But I was always waiting for this moment where we were going to play great. Liverpool didn't win by two clear goals last season very many times. I'm not sure what the stat was. I think it was only once or twice. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But the way I remember it was always by the odd goal. So I'm not convinced. I think he can bring winning football to Liverpool if he brought wingers in, but I'm just on with the style of play anyway. So we know the style of play at the moment is putrid, but the lack of pace in the wide areas and the lack of them beating the man is inhibiting how he wants to play. But even if we get to the point where he wants to play, is that what you want to watch?
I'm not sure it was what it is. Sorry, Peter. I think I wasn't convinced last season. Like you were with the style of play, but I think everyone just couldn't really say anything because of the results, and we just kept winning and finding a way. When I think of Arne Slot football, I can't even think about it. What is Arne Slot football? So if I talk about managers like Guardiola, Pochettino, Postecoglou, Sean Dyche football, immediately you've got images in your head of what that looks like, how they score goals, how they defend. I think with Liverpool, sometimes you can see some patterns of play, but then you won't see them for another 3 games. Then you'll see something new and you're like, ooh, that's good. But then you'll never see it replicated again. And I think we're relying too much on individual brilliance to get the wins for us. I think especially against Wolves, the only player that was maybe close to doing something for Liverpool before Ngamoa came on was Ekitike. We were just relying on Ekitike to get the ball, beat a couple of men and have a shot. Now, sometimes he's going to be able to do that, but the over-reliance on him to do that, it's just not good enough. And I really can't see what our style of play is. I'm really, really struggling to put a name or a theme on our type of football.
I struggle to see exactly what the style of football is as well. I think we were talking about last season. I think you can see patterns of play and a repetition in how we score goals. That's clear. Maybe we would see that in the future, but I really want to see exciting football at Anfield. I'm not convinced that'll happen, but I'm just going to ask you now, because you said before that winning the Champions League would save his job. Of course it would save his job. If you won the Premier League and then you won the Champions League, that'd be very difficult. But does winning the FA Cup solely, so if Liverpool were to finish 6th, for example, and not qualify for the Champions League and win the FA Cup, he's won the Premier League, then he's, after such a torrid season, do you think the FA Cup would be enough?
Completely honestly, Peter, for me, it wouldn't be, but I think it would be enough for the board. I know that's probably...
So even if he didn't qualify for the Champions League?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Interesting. I think the Champions League qualification is more important than the FA Cup in the eyes of the board. I think it probably is in all of our eyes, really, because of what it sets up for the next few seasons. I always would take silverware over everything. Do you think Liverpool will qualify for the Champions League?
I still think we will. I think maybe I'm just the eternal optimist. You always call me the eternal optimist. But I can see Aston Villa dropping points. Man United can't maintain that form. And I think we don't need to win every game, do we? We don't probably need to win 6, maybe 5 games and maybe a draw or 2. I think that would get us over the line.
In those fixtures, we've got Spurs at home. We have Brighton away. Fulham is at Anfield. We have Everton away, which is obviously poses its own problems. Crystal Palace at home. then in May, which is then really becoming problematic, especially if you were going to go into the latter stages of any cup competition. You have Man United away, Chelsea at home, Aston Villa away, and Brentford at home, who've also been fantastic this season. Are you convinced that you'd get 5 wins out of those 9 games?
I'm not convinced, but we've got to believe that for something, haven't we, Peter? I think I still believe Liverpool can do it. Not because of how much good Liverpool are. I think the teams above us are not as good as other people think. And I think they will drop a lot more points towards the end of this season. And I also think, at the same time, it could be an absolute catastrophe in a matter of 2-3 weeks for Liverpool. If we lose 3-4 games on the bounce, you could potentially be out the Champions League, you could be potentially out the FA Cup, and you could get knocked out of the top 5 race as well. So a bit of a two-sided sword there, Peter, but I still think we can do it. But a couple of results might change my mind.
It just might change your mind. I'm going to ask you one last question on about what the manager would have to do to save his job. We'll go back to Henry Jackson's poll, and he asked the question about if Liverpool were to finish in the top 5 and qualify for the Champions League. I think the board would see that as a good, positive thing financially. We would be able to attract footballers and a piece of silverware, as in being the FA Cup. Would that be good enough for you after what you've watched this season?
For me, it wouldn't be, but I think the board would take that, and I think they would go forward with him and give him another chance, considering that he's won the league. I think that would be enough, because especially these owners, these billionaires, they want the Champions League money, they want the Champions League revenue, they want the views, the television, all these little things, the merchandise sales. These are massive contributors to Liverpool's revenue, and I think as a business, because we're fans, they're businessmen, and at the end of the day, they're trying to make a profit out of Liverpool, and I think that's the most important thing for them.
We've heard from Christos about what he thinks is going to be good enough to save his job and what maybe he wants. He certainly wants the Champions League. What I want to know is what you think. What you think is acceptable. Do you believe in the style of play? Because that's my biggest concern for next season. I tend to agree with Christos. I think come the summer, then Arne Slot might part ways. I don't want him to. I want him to be successful. Let's just stress that before anyone gives me any abuse. I want every Liverpool manager and every Liverpool player to be successful. I'm just not convinced. I'd love to know your thoughts, but I'm going to move on to Wolves now. Again, so we play Wolves again. It wasn't a cracking match. I said at one point that Liverpool have become the undercard on a mega super fight that is on about 6:30 p.m. that you hope you miss, but you've paid 25 quid for it, so you're a bit like, well, I'm going to watch it because I'm going to get every pound out of that 25 quid. So I'm going to watch it anyway. And you open your first beer and you're a bit like, this is a bit crap. But we've got it all again. So it is all again in the FA Cup tomorrow night. Do we see any difference? Are you convinced that there will be a bit of a reaction in this Liverpool side? Arne Slot's press conference today said that there will be limited rotation because he can't change all 11 players. I don't know what context that was, but I was just thinking, you do not change 11 players. We've just had the conversation about what might save your job, and winning the FA Cup might be part of that.
Yeah, I think with Wolves, I wasn't very confident before the first game because they just started getting a bit of form. So they drew to Arsenal, they beat Aston Villa, and then they've managed to beat Liverpool. So that's 3 teams out of the top 5, which is brilliant for a team that's been relegated since September. Now, I think with the game on Friday, I think where he's saying minimal rotation, I think he's had to do that because he's lost the first game and now he can't afford to lose the second game. I think if we win the first game against Wolves, there would be a lot of rotation. I think you'd be seeing all the fringe players playing. I don't think he respects the FA Cup at all. I think he prioritises the league and the Champions League. But at this point, I think he's had to respect it. He's being forced by Wolves to respect the FA Cup and respect Wolves because they've shown them what they can do. So if they can replicate even half of that performance, we're going to have a massive game on our hands.
I think when you say about respect, I think the Champions League, that's my opinion, I think the Champions League qualification saves his job. So I think that's why he would see that as more important. He's obviously got the Champions League match against Galatasaray next Tuesday. But if you go into the FA Cup, like you just said, and make loads of changes, and then you get beat, you can't get beat twice in a week against a team that's been relegated since September, and then go to Galatasaray away, where we've already been beaten this season, and then tell that story to the players and go, you know what, it's fine. We're going to win this game because we're up for it for the Champions League. It's all about momentum. And you're certainly right. Liverpool must win the game tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's like I was saying before, 2 or 3 bad results could be catastrophic for the rest of the season. So we've already been beaten from Wolves in the league. Imagine if we get beaten by Wolves in the Cup, we're out of the Cup, and then we get beat by Galatasaray, and then we come back to Tottenham and get beat by them as well. That would be basically season over, wouldn't it? Really, realistically. So we've got to be really, really careful. I think the pressure now is maximum for Arne Slot. He needs to deliver results. And I think that's the main reason he's saying minimal rotation.
100%. I agree that the season would be over. For me, I'm still dreaming of a Wembley trip or 2. Certainly 2, actually, because obviously you got the semi-final as well. For argument's sake, if Liverpool were to go full strength, and let's just say for argument's sake, we won't actually go into the details of the players right this moment. I'm just want you to picture that it's the same team. We've got the replay on Friday. We've got a revenge mission. What do you actually want to see from the starting 11 different from what we see on Tuesday? Because that first half was abysmal. The first period of 10-15 minutes in that second half, we looked like we were ramping it up a little bit. The goal line clearance from Cody Gakpo didn't help the situation. But then we all of a sudden switched off. So what is it that you would want to see different? And are you confident Liverpool will produce it?
So the first thing I'd like to see, definitely, Peter, I think it's time to start Rio and Gamoa.
Stevie G said that he must start now for the rest of the season. So all this nonsense about protecting footballers, I'm pretty sure if one of Liverpool's greatest ever footballers, who's very knowledgeable in the game, comes out and says, come on, play the lad now, play him. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's amped the pressure up, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think Rio and Gamoa has to start. I think he's shown over the last few games what he can produce. He's creating chances, he's taking people on, and that's exactly what Liverpool are missing in some of these games. A bit of creativity. He's a bit of a maverick, isn't he? You don't know what to expect from him. And I think at the same time, we need a bit more leadership on the pitch. So I'd probably start Rio as a left winger, and then I'd probably get Robertson on the pitch for a bit of leadership, a bit of communication. I know he might lack the pace of Kirkes, but I think at this moment in time, we could compensate that with possibly Frimpong on the other side. And I think we just need to go in and play football from the start, quick football. We need to make better decisions, and we just need to take our chances. We need to provide quality on the ball, and we just need not to be so lethargic and slow.
Pass quicker. Be a bit more intense.
Even when we're passing from left to right, it's just so slow, and you go and it's on the left, and then it's going in the middle, and then it's going on the right. I'm like, well, the defender can catch up to you. He can get to what you're doing. We all know what you're doing. It's not working. Move the ball faster, draw defenders out, find the space, and create some opportunities.
I totally agree. I'm going to reset you for a moment because I would certainly start Rio in Gamoa. I think he has to start. But Rio will nail him, actually. We'll nail him as the left forward. He's got to play. Bear in mind, he probably won't play against Galatasaray anyway. But bear in mind, we have got Galatasaray on the Tuesday. Is there any changes to the side? Because Frimpong's recently come back from injury. Maybe you need to protect him. If you are, and if there is anyone else that you need to wrap in cotton wool, is there anyone that you think, well, actually, I know it's the FA Cup, I know it's important. Who are we starting? So is Marmadashvili coming in for
Oh, yeah,
for
definitely.
Alisson.
Yeah.
So we'll agree on that one. Right back.
Yeah, so right back, there's not many options there, Peter, is there? I think Gomez, we can start Gomez. I'd personally want to see Frimpong on the pitch, but I wouldn't want to see the Frimpong we saw against the first game at Wolves.
I don't want to see a Frimpong go off injured as well. That's more what my concern is.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there, Peter. But I think at this moment in time, we need to build momentum, and I think we need to win games. I think by just keeping it compact, I think we're risking of getting to the latter stages of the game, conceding a goal, and we're back where we started against Wolves. So I just don't want a repeat of that nightmare.
So you're
again.
going with Frimpong?
I'm going with Frimpong.
I'd probably go with Gomez. I certainly wouldn't play Curtis Jones there after seeing him in that right back position in the last minute. He's not. He's just way off it at the moment. So I'd go Gomez. You'd go Frimpong. You'd stick with Kanate and Van Dijk because we haven't really got many options. You'd change Kerkez for Robertson. I think Robertson does come in. My concern is, and I can't say his name, but the number 30 for Wolves is the fastest player in the Premier League. I'm pretty sure he starts. And against Andy Robertson, he'd have to be very cute. So that's what would happen in midfield.
Midfield, you'd probably have to go Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister. At the same time, again, coming back to my point before, how many options do you really have? As you said, Jones has not really been performing to the levels that we've been used to. He's been making sloppy mistakes recently, and I think we can't really start based on that. And I think, as I said just now, we haven't really got any other options.
I'd rather see Leone come in and see what he's like. I wouldn't start him.
Yeah.
I would go full strength midfield. So let's make no bones about that. I want to see Liverpool win the game. But I'd rather see Leone than Curtis Jones. I want to see something different.
Do you think, sorry, Peter, do you think that Arne Slot has that belief in the youth like Jurgen Klopp? Because I don't think there's nothing coming out from the youth ranks at all anymore.
Last season, this was an argument against Arne Slot, and I was always defending him a little bit that we don't really know Arne Slot, and maybe there wasn't the quality there. Maybe he likes to work with a smaller squad. And I know he certainly didn't play in the youth side last season. But now the argument is stacking up against him because I'll go back to those earlier conversations in the season. He was in that meeting room. Was Rio one of the players? You said that before, that maybe Liverpool have duped the Liverpool fans in thinking that, well, actually he is a real squad player when actually he was just a dummy and he was never going to be utilised. What if Arne Slot just wasn't playing him? Maybe he should be utilising him. We have this protection thing all the time, as if like, oh, he's 17, he can't play football. You know, he's what's going to happen to him? He's going to get mental pressure. He's going to pull a hamstring or whatever. He can play some minutes. So I'm starting to buy into that he just doesn't trust the youth side. But then you can argue, then why do you keep trusting players who continuously fail? You're going to start Rio on the left. On the right, you're going to go Mo Salah after his goal?
I'm going Mo Salah, yeah. I think Mo Salah always has something to provide. You alluded to it before. I think we're not utilising him in the correct areas. He's asked to do things that he's just probably not able to do anymore. But at the same time, he's still providing a lot for Liverpool. He is providing numbers on assists. His goals might not be the same, but how can you be replicating 20, 30 goals a season every season? It's just not viable. I think he has dropped off. I'm not saying he's the same player, but I think he can be very influential in the game for us. I don't know whether you could potentially start Gakpo, give him a 45-minute cameo, 60-minute cameo, and then just throw Ekiti here on nice and fresh to kill the game off.
Do you know what? It's an excellent point, because if we are not starting games quickly, and actually we're not ending games very well either, then maybe putting Gakpo centrally, putting Rio on the left will be the way to go. I think Liverpool fans would be in shock. I actually wouldn't. I think he might do that, Christos. I think it's an excellent idea. I think it's an excellent point. And this way Hugo has been struggling to finish games recently and bring him on, then you save his legs for Galatasaray. Yeah. I think that's an excellent...
And you've also got something to throw off the bench, because one of the big problems for Liverpool recently, we haven't got a bench.
No. Florian Wirtz might be on that bench. He might get a couple of minutes. It'll be good to see him back. But that's it. What are we thinking? Are we going to progress? Even with all this negativity, are we going to progress in the FA Cup?
You know me, Peter. I'm always optimistic. I think we will progress, but it will be a drag of a game. And I think Wolves will be right up for it. The fans are going to be right up for it. And I don't think it's going to be an entertaining game to watch at all.
It might be for Wolves. It might be for the neutral. It is addictive winning in late nights. They've got the Friday night last week against Aston Villa. They've got the Tuesday night against us. They've got the Friday night against us again this week. They've had 2 wins so far against big clubs. So let's hope they don't make it a third. But no, that's brilliant. I think Liverpool will win the game. I'm going to go 2-1. I can't see a world where we don't concede. I can't see a world where we make it easy because Liverpool just making our lives hell. We are on Patreon. We are obviously on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you tell your mates. Make sure you come back to see what the reaction is for what unfolds in this another tricky game against Wolves. We'll see you on Monday.